Hello guys, welcome to my channel. So in this video, I'll be showing you on how to display a toast message. So let's start. Okay, so we have here the blank project. So it's an empty project. So let's proceed to the source code. In here, we'll be adding a button. So Ion button. Then /Ion button. So for example, the text is save record, and then once the user click this button, it will prompt or it will display a toast message. So let's check first the output of this button. So we have here the button. So we'll be adding the onClick method for this button or onClick event. So @click is equal to show toast message example, and then in our view we'll be adding the Ion button, and then in our components we'll be defining that Ion button, and then we'll be creating a method Ion button. So add the comma here, and then we'll be adding a method or methods, and then in our methods we'll be adding our show the toast message. Okay, and then we'll be defining our the properties of the toast. Okay, so we'll be defining a constant variable here, which is the name is toast, and then okay, so we need also to define the toastController on our view, toastController, and then we'll be defining it here. So by the way, we'll be using the asynchronous and await statement. So async, then await statement, toastController, and then the method, which is that create. Then we need to specify the different parameters of that create statement or method of the toastController. So for example, we'll be defining the message. Okay, so do not forget to add a curly brace or parentheses. Or brace rather, and then in here we'll be defining its properties or attribute of the toastController, which is the message. Okay, the message that you are going to display on your toast. So for example, since we use the message or the button save record, so for example, when the user click the save button, it will prompt you record has been saved. So just for example, and then we'll be returning that return toast dot present. So that's the property or the method for you to display the toast. So in this section or in this part, you are just defining the different properties or just preparing the toast message, but in this part will be displaying what you defined in here. Okay, so let's try our application, and then let's try the output. So let's try to refresh, and then let's say, for example, save record. Okay, so by default the toast message will display at the bottom of your screen. So you can also modify that by placing it at the top of your screen by changing or by adding the attribute, which is the position. Okay, so by default the value of the position is at the bottom. So let's say, for example, top. Let's try that. Let's try to click this button. Okay, so we have the message in our or on the top of our application. So if you can see, the toast message is not hiding, so that is not the correct way to display this. So for you to automatically hide this message, all you need to do is to set the duration of your toast message. So you will be adding another property, which is the duration, and then let's say, for example, you specify 2000 milliseconds. Control S, and then let's try to refresh our application so that we could hide the previous toast message. Then let's try to click the save record, and then this the message automatically hides after 2000 milliseconds. Okay, so another is you can also add a header. Okay, so we can also add a header property of the toast message. So header colon, then the header, for example, success, then Control S. Let's try again, and let's try to click that. So there is a header of our toast message. Okay, another is we can also change the color of the toast message. So by default it is black, it's black or dark. So you can change that by adding a property which is color. Okay, and then your options are the default colors for Ionic Vue. For example, you can use the primary and put a comma if you want to change the background or the color of your toast message. Let's try that by clicking the save record button. So we have a color blue. Okay, color blue. You can also use, for example, success, which is color green. Okay, let's try to refresh, or let's check if we are able to save it. Success, so it's color green. So it depends on the color that you want. By default it's dark, but you can change that by changing the color property. Okay, you can also add buttons of your message or toast message. So for example, if you're going to confirm a transaction, you can add a button. So we'll be adding a button. So all you need to do is just to add the buttons. Okay, so buttons property, and then so since you can add multiple buttons, okay, so open bracket or square bracket, and then the brace for the first button. Okay, and then you specify the button. So for example, the text is colon, so just add a enter, and the text for example is okay. And then you can specify also the location of your button, so later on. So for example, okay, let's try that. Okay, so we have a button here which is the OK button. So you can also add another one. So just copy. Then for example, this one is cancel. So save record, then you have two buttons which is the OK and the cancel. Okay. So for example, will be just like what we did a while ago. We did not specify the duration. When the user click the cancel button, that's the time you will hide the toast message. So we'll be removing the duration, but instead we'll be adding a click event to the cancel button. So we'll be adding the text cancel, and then for example we'll be defining another attribute or property of the button inside of the toast message, which is the handler. Okay, and then all we need to do is to add these methods for our handler. So let's say you'll be hiding it, so toast, then toast that, for example, the on did dismiss method. Okay, so let's try that, and then okay, click the save record. So it won't hide since we removed the duration. Try to click the cancel, so hides the or closes the toast message by clicking the cancel. Okay, so I think that's all for the toast message. Okay, so summary, we can define the properties. Okay, properties, we have the header, message, position, the color, the buttons. You can add buttons, multiple buttons on your toast message, even the duration of the toast message. Then you can add handler or the click event for the buttons of the toast message. So thank you for watching. See you on our next videos.